Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Saiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tado Devim Nasta Prayesha Bhadresha Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Sloke Bhakti Irbodhne. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, observing Gamis, chapter 1, verse number 40-41. Adharma vivat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriya strishu dustashu varsneya Jayate Varna Shankaraha. Sorry, number 40. 39. Sloka number 39. Kulakshaye pranashanti kula dharma sanatanaham dharma naste kulam krishnam adharmo abhavatyuta abhivatyuta Kulakshaye pranashanti kula dharma sanatanaha dharma naste kulam krishnam adharmo abhivatiyuta. Word by word, translation, purport by Srivangas Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Kulakshaya, in destroying the family. Pranashanti, become vanquished. Kula dharmaha, the family traditions. Sanatanaha, eternal. Dharme, religion. Naste, being destroyed. Kulam, family. Krishnam, whole. Adharma, irreligion. Abhibhavati, transforms. Uta, it is said. Translation. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. Purport. In the system of the Varnashrama institution, there are many principles of religious traditions to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members are responsible for such purifying process in the family, beginning from birth to death. But on the death of the elder members, such family traditions of purifying may stop, and the remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits and thereby lose their chance for spiritual salvation. So, therefore, for no purpose should the elder members of the family be slain. Om Agnanatimidandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Sapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Welcome to the Gita1st class, observing the Amis, chapter 1, sloka verse number 39 and 40. So here Arjuna is questioning Krishna. If we destroy the dynasty, what will happen to the elders? So if the elders will get slain, then there will be no spiritual progress, there will be no spiritual advancement, and there will be no purification in the Vamsha, in the dynasty. So everything will get stopped, because the elderly persons in those days, they are fully responsible for the whole family, to bring up their children, to bring up their the members of the dynasty to the spiritual platform, and to maintain the civilization, and to maintain the culture of bhakti. So Arjuna, that is why he is reasoning out intellectually that if we destroy those persons, if we kill those persons who are the main epitome of the family, or the responsible persons of the family, who can bring up their children to the platform of spirituality. So there is a need and there is a concern for the elderly persons. In modern days also, the whole system of this spirituality and the whole system of bhakti cult or the Vaishnavism or the Aryan civilization, the most intelligent persons and the most elevated, exalted and highly learned Brahmanas. So they are the responsible for the upliftment of the Vedic society, upliftment of this society, so that the people who are involved in this, so people who are existing in this society should cultivate and should educate themselves, and the Brahmanas should educate themselves, the Vaishnavas should educate themselves into the platform of spirituality, because otherwise, if there is no spirituality, then the materialism will have a lot of, the material world will have a lot of chaos, and there will be a lot of disturbances. So we cannot solve the problem without any spiritual salvations. So we need to cultivate, or we need to take association from the elderly Brahmanas who have dedicated their lives for upliftment of this Vedic civilization. So Vedic civilization plays a very dominant role in this modern civilization, because in this modern world, most of them, say 99% of them, they are not taking up this Vedic civilization. That is why the dynasty is getting collapsed, because the elderly persons themselves are not following this Vedic civilization. So elderly persons has their role, they have their responsibility, they have to take charge of the younger generations to educate them and to make them to execute religious activities, so that their generation, their future generation will become the spiritual leaders, and they will become the role model, and they will become the torch bearer to the younger generation, so that they can take so that they can make them God consciousness, and make them to study Vedas, and they can also show path to other their relatives and their friends circle. So Arjuna is intelligently questioning Krishna, why this elderly person should be killed. I don't want to kill them. If you kill them, the younger generations will not take the responsibility. They'll start all religious habits like intoxication, gambling, illicit sex, and so many things, etc., etc. So, which are cause for the sinful activities. So that is why in this modern world there are so many disturbances in the society, because nobody is following the Vedic civilization. So Vedic civilization, because there is a system is there, Varnashrama system is there, 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. Actually there is no jati, there is no caste, there are only 4 castes according to Gita by the speaker, Lord Krishna says, Chaturvarnam Maya system Gunakarma Vibhagashaya. Only the Varnas are divided into divided according to their qualification. Like Brahmana has to study Vedas, distribute Vedas, and is not supposed to take any sort of monetary terms, and he is not supposed to keep any sort of a reserve property or a bank balance or something like that. So he has the right, or he has the opportunity of accepting the dana, charities from the householders, from the grahasthas. So from that the charities, but the grahasthas must give the charities to Brahmanas, to the qualified Brahmanas. And the Brahmanas means they always depend on Lord, and they will not have any sort of money-minded consciousness. They are for Krishna, by Krishna, and of Krishna, and they don't know anything except the Vedic civilization. They are fully dependent on the Lord, and their only duty and their only responsibility is to bring up the subjects of the society to the Vedic platform, to the spiritual platform, so that they can purify themselves, and they will not be in a position to cultivate irreligious habits. That is why elderly persons in the family should be a Brahmana. They should have a qualified Brahmana, not by birth but by qualification. And for the other ashramas is Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. This Varnashrama system should be introduced in each and every nook of the country. Then only the Bharatavarsha will be prosperous and people can live very happily without any sort of chaos and confusions. So this Varnashrama and the Kshatriya should protect the people, and he should also see to that all his subjects are given opportunity to cultivate the Bhakti Yoga. So to cultivate Bhakti Yoga or to render devotional services. So there should not be any duplicity in the devotional service. So for that, on top of that, the king should be a devotee. King should be a Rajarshi. He should be a devotee. Then only he will have that mood. Then only he will have that consciousness. Then only he will have that quality of introducing this Vedic system of education. So that should be the main priority the Kshatriya should give. And most of the Kshatriyas are so-called politicians in this modern world are they have totally neglected this type of Varnashrama system, and it is a great loss or damage to the heritage of India, to the Indian heritage, I can say. So that is why this Varnashrama system should be introduced, and everywhere institutions should be opened. In every branch, in every village, in every town and city, the Varnashrama institutions should be opened, and people should be given chance or opportunity to follow this Varnashrama system. What is Varnas? As I told you, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Kshatriya has to maintain, Brahmana has to study Vedas. Kshatriya has to maintain the Brahmanas, and he should give charities to the Brahmanas, and he should protect them in order to perform the Sankirtana Yajna, in order to perform devotional activities. So Kshatriya should give all sort of protections to Brahmanas and also to other Varnas also. And the Vaishya should take care of cows. He should give Go Rakshana and Go Dan, and he should also take care of cows. Go protection should be there. Go Rakshana and Go Seva should be there. And he can do Vanija also to maintain their family. And the main aim or main objective of this Vaishya is Go Rakshana, and he has to maintain the renounced order of life, the persons who are in the renounced order of life, and the Brahmanas. And the Kshatriya, as a Sudra, has to, the labor class should assist all these Varnas, all these three Varnas. So ultimately Krishna says, Chaturvarnam, Varnashrama Dharma is ultimately to worship Lord Krishna, to do upasana to Krishna, or to chant the holy names of the Lord. That is their main aim. And all these ashramas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, the Sannyasa, these ashramas should be smoothly, they should function smoothly. As Brahmachari should go to the Gurukuls, or he has to accept the spiritual master till some age comes, till the starting from age 7 to 22 or 23, I suppose, if I am not wrong. And then if at all he wants to marry, he can marry, and then even in Grihasthashram also he has to maintain these religious activities. He has to purify himself by performing samskaras and performing yagnas in Kali Yuga, Sankirtana yagnas, and to distribute literatures, distribute Krishna conscious to each and every soul, whomever he meets. Kruhetako, Vanetako, Krishna Karo. So that is the main intention, that is the light here, that is the core point where we can focus on this verse. Because the elderly members are responsible for such purifying process from birth to death. So even now, if some elderly persons are there, they will always guide the younger generations during the time of birth and during the time of death also. Because during the time of birth, children should be, parents should be, the elderly person should guide them by performing Garbhadana Samskara, that is, before uniting, the husband and wife should chant the holy names of the Lord. They should do all sorts of devotional activities before giving birth to a soul. And after that, Srimanta Samaskara, and then Annadana Samaskara, and then Namakarana Samskara, and then Shastra, Aksharabhyasa. So many samskaras there. The main, there are 16 very important samskaras. So till death, even at the time of death, one should do Sankirtana Yagna, one should read Bhagavad Gita chapters like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like all those chapters. They have to recite the slokas, and they can also read the Srimad Bhagavatam so that the consciousness may get purified. So all these things should be guided by the elderly persons. That is the Arjuna saying, you should not kill, you should not slay the elderly persons in the family. But for the sake of Krishna, for pleasing Krishna, for understanding Krishna, because Krishna knows when and when not to do, and what to do and what not to do. He knows very well, because he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the next verse says Arjuna is claiming that there will be Varna Shankara, unwanted population will be there, and the women will become polluted and from the degradation of womanhood. So when irreligious activities exist in a family, Arjuna says to Krishna, women of the family become polluted. So good population in human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity and spiritual progress in the life. The Varnashrama religious principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to be misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation. Therefore, both children and women require protection by the elderly members of the family. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to Chanakya Pandita, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So the different family traditions of religious activities should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for participating in the Varnashrama Dharma. On the failure of such Varnashrama Dharma, naturally the women become free to act and mix with men, and thus adultery is indulged in at the risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence. So in this verse 40, Arjuna is saying that because of these irreligious activities, women are prone to become adultery. Women are misled into adultery. Because by nature, Chanakya Pandita says, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy, because we can easily trick or cheat or deceive women by uh, uh, what to say, by making them or pricing or not making them, or pricing them, glorifying them, and keep them into the top level or high level position. We can easily make them to dance to a tune. That is what Chanakya Pandit says. They are generally not intelligent and they are not trustworthy also. So the Varnashrama religious principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of the state and community. So Arjuna, the point is, what Arjuna wants to say is, we should create a good population. Good population means the father and mother will execute the devotion services every day, 24 hours, or at least minimum 6 to 8 hours. Train themselves into the religious activities, so that the their generation or coming children also will cultivate or will follow the same religious habits. So in such case, if elderly persons are not there, or if pure devotees are not there in the family, and if no one follows the religious principles in the family, then the women will become unwanted population, and they beget Varna Shankara. So where Varna Shankara means the girls and boys are mixing together without any proper understanding, or afterwards it leads to so many unwanted problems, and it also leads to great issues in the society also. So that is why these boys and girls should give proper Vedic civilization. So we should give protection to children and women especially. Therefore, both children and women require protection by the elderly members of the family. That's what Prabhupada says there. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled. So Prabhupada what says is, by giving a proper protection and by giving proper training to women and children, they will not misled to any sort of adultery. So there are chances of becoming adultery. So there are chances of becoming victim to the adulteries by women. That is why women are generally, so when they become the victim of adultery, then the chastity of the women and the purity of the women will get vanished. So then when there is no chastity or when there is no purity in the women's life, then the society or the family or the so then naturally we will give birth to the Varna Shankara, to the bad unwanted population. So that is why a woman should maintain her chastity, and there are a lot of instructions for women how she should behave, and what are do's and don'ts of the women. All these things are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, because a woman should be covered properly, and women should not be exposed to any other person except her own husband. All these things are mentioned in Shastras. That is why a woman plays a very major role in the society. So the modern world should read these scriptures, should understand these scriptures and follow. Then only there will be chastity, purity, and the virginity will be there in the society, so that there will be peace in the country. There will be no chaos. There will be no irreligious activities. So that is why they have to take all these responsibilities on their shoulders. There are a lot of things to be learned by women, because they are not supposed to go outside outside the house, because they have to maintain their children's, because children may prone to mislead to the irreligious activities, to the bad activities. So they should maintain their children, they should give good education, they should educate their children, and they should make them teach the Vedic principles at a very earlier age itself. So there are so many, these are the responsibilities of the women, and women are not supposed to take a higher responsibility. Prabhupada says higher, because they are not capable and they are not qualified, and even Shastras doesn't recommend all these things for the women. So we can see many women are taking the presidential and prime minister post and very high political positions, but they are not supposed to take that. Their main intention should be, their main attitude should be to bring up their children to the platform of spirituality. So because women are supposed to give their children a God consciousness. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram. So ultimately, to say is good population in human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. So the Varnashrama religious principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of state and community. So the whole population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its humanhood. So chastity and the faithfulness of the humanhood plays a very dominant role. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram.